Diplomats. This your boy Tariq. Yes, guess what? I am not in my office and I don't have my whiteboard. So me and the family are about to get ready to go on a trip. So got to get ready for that. And still got to conduct business with my other businesses and everything. So I'm doing this in the I don't want to call it the Batmobile. How about if I call the Kingdom Mobile? Oh yeah, I'm gonna take dominion over that too. So this is gonna be short and sweet, guys. Um, I was gonna talk about some other things, but I wanted to make it short and sweet. Hope you guys are having a great summer. Yes, it is humid out here. If you're on the East Coast and in the U.S., shout out to all my peeps out there in Africa. And when you get a chance, all my peeps out there in Africa, that's actually not her real name. She was renamed, so you should research that. That was for free. All my peeps in Europe, South America, down there in the islands, over there in Russia, way on the other end in China. I hope you guys are doing well. All right, let's get to it. So this is going to be like the abridged version. So I'm going to give you some thought process. Oh, and please hit that like button. And also, if you're new, welcome. Please subscribe if you find value in this. This channel is not for me in a way. This channel is actually for you guys, right? So my fruit that I'm developing, my gift, which one of my gifts is the ability to teach certain things, to grab a difficult subject and compartmentalize it. You know, I got to chew on it and so on and so forth, go through my whole process, and then, you know, emit it or deliver it to the people that I'm supposed to serve. See, I'm not trying to sell you anything, because I know one thing for a fact is that each person not only has a gift, but that gift that they're supposed to master, check this out, they have a specific audience. So in other words, they're a solution to a specific problem in their generation. So if you still have breath in your lungs, if you still haven't given up the ghost, you have a gift and you have a responsibility and a duty. So that's why I'm doing that right now. Okay, so you may want to, if I were you, I would grab a piece of paper and pen if you got it available, something to write on of that nature. So let's talk about business. I know last week, obviously, I talked about the difference between a democratic republic, and just a quick synopsis. You know, obviously, if you are a citizen, American citizen, and that definitely has different meanings. The citizen, the whole premise of the power structure is from the bottom up. Okay, you got to remember that, from the bottom to the top. Okay, now in the kingdom is opposite. It's from the top down. The top down. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of other components in each one of those systems and everything like that. So you hear stuff in the background, I'm in the parking lot right now. So I'm just kind of improvising. And that's one of the things I like about doing lives and podcasts, because wherever I'm at, that's what I'm going to do. And I like doing a lot of times, even though I did write down some notes, a lot of times just because of my thought process and the people I've hung around, the books I've read, and the people I've associated with through the last 20 plus years, that stuff comes to the surface. So, you know, if you guys want to ask any questions, please put it in the chat box, anything dealing with business. As I mentioned something, well, I think it was last week, and I mentioned it several different times, that let me just kind of give you a background and everything. My first job actually was, or it wasn't actually a job, it was actually I contracted with the city. I was 13 years old. And I was delivering newspapers. Now, some people, they laugh at that, but people don't understand is that you're literally contracting with a corporation, a company, and you are using their product, and you got to have some type of selling skills. I did that at 13 years young. My dad made me do it the first 3 weeks and actually I wanted to do it, but after the first or second days of doing it, getting up during the summertime, I might add, at 5:30 in the morning was not pleasant as a 13 years old, right? Or years young. Because, I mean, let's be honest, right? Raise your hand if you should put a 1 in the chat box if you were so excited about getting up real early in the morning. Like, we love staying up late, right? Watching movies and, farting around, hanging out with our friends, staying up late, and just, during the summertime, right? We got the ball and chain off our foot during the summertime, right? At least for a little bit. Well, anyway, my dad, after the second day, he made me, and I'm so grateful that he did, made me to continue to keep doing it, because I was able to not only make more than enough to buy myself 2 or 3 pairs of shoes and some clothes, several outfits, because that's what I wanted to do, because we had just moved down from CT to VA, and my dad was a single dad. I had a little sister at the time. And so, yeah, so that was a learning experience in myself. But I learned a little bit about entrepreneurship, right? I learned a little bit about people skills, even though I didn't really read any books. I learned how to be kind to people, right? How to use titles to get payment, right? And so on and so forth. I learned how to be persistent, right? Some people, I'm sure, dodged me, and some of them did get away and, stealing from a 13-year-old young kid. But anyway, and some of that, and, after I was able to get that money, I actually volunteered to give some of that money to my dad just to help him out, since he was a single dad. And I don't know if I've ever divulged this before, but my dad was riding to work as a painter. He was just trying to get something to put food on the table. And he was riding on a moped that probably didn't go more than 45 miles an hour. So he would go to work when it was dark, and he would return sometime, because it was during the summertime in painting. You're burning you got to get up early, and you got to burn the daylight, right? And get to work. And sometimes you got jobs that go in there. So I have a lot of respect for him. But anyway, so here it is. So the first thing I talked about last week, Genesis 1. So this is kingdom business, okay? Whether you are a entrepreneur, whether you have a job, whether you worked a job your whole life, maybe you're past the whole job thing, maybe you're retired, maybe you're getting your hustle on, maybe you're from Georgia and you don't say business, you say business, business. That's a true story. Business. This guy told me that he was talking to somebody down in Atlanta one time, and something had happened, and or maybe he came up to North Carolina, I can't remember, but anyway, he was talking to him. The dude was from Atlanta, and he was like, dude, what are you doing? He was like, man, I'm just a business man doing business. And he said, huh? I'm a business man doing business, so I like that, business man doing business. But anyway, so Genesis 1 NIV. Okay, so here's 4 laws. These 4 laws, guess who's doing this? Guess who's done this for decades? People like Microsoft, people like Burger King, corporations like Dario's, Kroger's, all these big corporations, investment firms. United States is a corporation. I don't know if you know that, right? Here's a hint. When you look at your local police, it says police, right? POLICE. That's short for policy. And if you're a corporation, corporations have what? Employees. Employees have what? Or mean what? Servants. Servants mean slaves. That's a little bit down the line. Give me a few months and I'm going to work on that also too. Dealing with the Constitution, all right? So the audience that follows me is going to be majorly empowered, right? See, if you don't know your rights, if you don't know your rights spiritually, mentally, physically, in other words, you don't know the laws in those areas, you'll be taken advantage of. And by far, we've been taken advantage of for a long, long time. So Genesis 1, chapter 1, and is verse 26. So the first law is produce. Now, if you have a King James version, I don't use the King James version because we don't talk about this and thou and how art thou, and it's just a paraphrase. So you got to be very careful which constitution of the kingdom of heaven you listen to, because a lot of those, here's another tip, a lot of those publishing companies have been bought by people who actually don't want you to know some of the principles I've been teaching you about: spiritual principles, mental principles, physical principles, which are all interconnected. Okay. But it says fruitful in the King James, but in the NIV, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it says produce. To produce something. So in other words, when he's talking about producing something, produce, right? You go to the store, and when you say, I'm going to get some produce, honey, well, what is she thinking? What is he thinking? You're going down the fruit aisle, right? See, I told you that you're a seed, and I told you that you have a seed of business in you. Didn't I tell you that? Produce. So here's what all these corporations have done. They're producing a product, okay? A product or service. A product or service. This phone is a product or service. The software on this phone is a product or service. The phone that's being held and holding this phone is a product or a service. The licensing is the company is a product or service. The car that I'm in, that you're watching, the surrounding area, is a product or a service. Are you listening to me? Everything is a product or a service, right? The second law is to multiply it. Figure out a way to multiply your gift. And I'm gonna get into like how do you find your gift? Is to multiply your gift. Figure out a way how to multiply your gift. I don't want to sell anything. It's too late. You've already sold, right? When you breathed your first breath, when you came through the birth canal, through the doorway to this planet, which is called a woman, by the way. If you're a wombed man, you're a man with a womb. That's the doorway to this planet, right? Spirit, soul, and body, a triune being. So you got to remember that, right? So multiply your gift. Figure out a way. Get some time alone. Find out what your gift is. Multiply. Here's a quick way you can find out your gift. What comes naturally to you, right? If you've already developed a skill set, you can turn that into a business. That's the seed of business, and that seed turns into a tree, and that tree will turn into a fruit. Okay, so that's the second law right there. Okay, now the third law is to replenish. Listen to the word replenish. See, this is everything has to do with words. Words have meanings. There's different with words. However you understand these words and operate in these words in different situations will determine where you end up in life. If you ever heard the word jurisdiction, jurish means right law. Juris, jurish means right law. Diction means words. So there's different jurisdictions, right? So you could be over here, you could be over here. You need to know the different laws in those areas, okay? So replenish. Re means again, okay? Plenish. So this is the mandate that the king has given mankind. Now, if you're part of a different religion, keep listening. Okay, I'm not part of it. I'm personally not part of any religion, especially the top four. I'm not part of none of the 2,000 religions, but I still want you to grasp these concepts, because you're still my brother or sister as far as a human being is concerned, right? Now, if you want to talk about spiritually, I already talked about that before. So the third thing, as I said before, is replenish. Okay, replenish. So as you find out, after you find out how to multiply that gift and produce something, right? That was the first law. You replenish it, okay? And then so as you're doing that, as you start mastering that, now keep in mind, there's not like you can give yourself a timetable like I have, but it could be a year, it could be 2 years, because you're still trying to find out things. You're trying to circumvent problems and challenges and everything like that, right? So that's the third law. The fourth law is to subdue your market, okay? subdue your market, dominate your market. See, I told you that you're a leader and that you're a king, and you too, Bam, spiritually speaking. Now, in the natural, you can call yourself a queen, but both of them have to do with dominion, okay? Dominating your area of gifting, not each other. You know, that's violating the law of love and the law of man, okay? So those are the four things. I'm going to go over one more time. So you got the law of produce. Produce something, a product and or a service, right? That may take a time. Write your ideas down. You have your phone. There's no excuse. I got my phone. I get ideas whether I wake up in the morning. And by the way, that's one of the biggest things to do when you wake up in the morning is to don't touch anything. Just sit there and relax. Take some deep breaths. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Your mind is in what they call the theta position, right? And a lot of things are downloaded in your mind. Then go over there and pop into your phone, download Color Note app, put in your ideas, even if you think it's stupid, even if somebody's already discovered it already, maybe something you could add to it, right? So there's different discoveries that you can add to it, maybe something that somebody discovered before you, okay? Also, you got to get a trademark for that, a patent for that, right? Library of Congress. Multiplication. So after you figure that out, figure out how to multiply through the internet, through selling, some way, shape, or form. Third thing, replenish it, okay? And then subdue your market. In other words, narrow your focus, okay? You feel me? Narrow your focus. If you want, don't chase money, chase value. And as you specify your gift, it will narrow your focus and it will increase your value. Why do you think you can't just walk down the street and find a diamond, right? Diamonds, there's plenty of diamonds, but guess what you have to do with diamonds? You have to dig for them, right? And then you have to have special equipment. Then you got to find people that are professionals that know how to do it. And then you probably got to get some type of licensing and all that type of stuff. Then you got to have gas to run the equipment. And then you probably got to fly the equipment to certain areas that diamonds are. And then you got to dig in certain areas, right? You got to go through all that whole process, right? So the reason why they're so valuable is because all the hard work that has to go into it, and that one specific thing is valuable but also invaluable, right? The less you find. If that doesn't make sense, just listen to it 5 or 6 times. It'll make sense. Okay. So those are the 4 laws that God actually gave mankind, right there. 4 laws, whether you do them or not. See, if you don't do these 4 laws right here, what I just said over and over again, somebody's doing them out here. You're going to work for somebody else who's doing them, okay? Or you already are working for somebody who's doing these laws, right? And I guarantee you're not going to be happy at the end of your life, right? You're going to live in regret, okay? Third thing, write your vision down. I said that before. If you do not write vision is of the mind. Sight is of the eye, the function of the eyes. I'm not talking about sight. I'm talking about vision. That's of your mind, right? So there was a vision put inside you, okay? If you don't write your vision down, now you have to just look at it like this, like you have no budget at all, okay? Write it down. Here's a tip. Here's to get you started. How do you want to live? Not what do you want to be? I was asked that when I was a little kid. Fireman. I think I said that 7 or 8. My stepdad asked that. Maybe I just seen a fire truck. And I like when, you go by, you ride by as a little kid and you tell them to toot the horn. Maybe I like that as a little kid. How you shouldn't, if you're a parent or you're a relative of somebody, don't ask your niece or nephew or your little cousin or next door neighbor, little kid or your child, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because that narrows their focus, right? That puts them in a box, okay? That closes their mind. You feel me? Ask them, how do I want to live? That expands your thinking, right? Your brain thinks at 20,000 trillion calculations a second. You should write that down. 20,000 trillion calculations a second. Look it up. All right. So write that down. How do you want to live? Okay. Now, second thing under that is life is 98%. This is so simple. 98% attitude, 2% work. 98% attitude, mindset, belief, system of thinking, okay? 2% work. Oh, they said I gotta work hard. You ever heard of a book called Think and Grow Rich? It's still selling millions of copies, probably per month, worldwide. That whole book is based on the Bible, which is a kingdom book, a kingdom business government book. You probably heard that first. Your pastor probably never said that. Your teacher probably never said that. Your mom and dad never probably said that before. Maybe you heard it first for the first time. The Bible is a kingdom business law book. Okay? So 98% attitude, 2% work. What does that entail? Build small habits. It's not going to happen overnight. When I'm owed anywhere from 88,000 to 120,000 in just 2 months of work. I probably put in about 100 hours. That's not a big deal. That's not a lot of money. Okay? But I didn't do it overnight. I built small little habits. Why? Because before the project finished, I put a lot of good stuff in this. If I had stopped, here's a tip. If I had let me say it like this. If I had blocked big, what do you mean block big, Tyreek? Block all the areas of negative. Movies, negative people, that's a huge thing. Family, all that type of stuff. Sometimes you got to get away to grow up. Sometimes you got to get away to grow up. I never said that before. Sometimes you got to get away to grow up for your seed to go down into the ground, break through the husk, spread his wings or spread his roots, and then come up. You see what I'm saying? So hopefully that makes sense. And then so your tree can come up and spread its branches. Okay. So block big. Second thing is read big. Okay. Read big. What do I mean? Read people skill books, relationship books. If you're selling something, everybody's always selling something. So you got to read. You got to develop the mindset of a business owner because you're a business person. I don't care if you had a job for 40, 50 years. Learn how to be your own business, okay? Because you can create more opportunities for yourself, right? You should never have all your eggs in one basket. Third thing is be likable. That's part of that. That's how a lot of people like being around me, right? Because of the people skills I've developed over time, right? And you still have to keep oiling the machine. You still have to keep oiling your skill set, right? You still have to keep oiling your mindset, just like you have to oil your car. Change your oil every 3 to 4, 5,000 miles, preferably 6,000 miles between that time frame. Okay. Fourth thing, use the skill set that you already have. Stop looking at your neighbor. Stop looking at your brother, your sister, your mom, or whatever like that. They do this well. Stop looking at people on TV. You personally have a skill set that you've developed. If you've been in the workforce for at least 6 months, you're developing a skill set. Whether you're landscaping, whether you're picking up garbage, whether you're bagging groceries, if you have a job, you're getting paid to learn a skill set. Start developing the stuff now. Start developing your skill set now. Start thinking about business ideas now with what you're doing now. So next 6 months or next year, you can start planning to hit the ground running, okay? Don't do it ahead. Start planning in your mind now, okay? And when I say ahead, I mean don't wait to do it. Start doing it now. Get your mind going in the right direction. All right? Here's the fifth one. I get ready to wrap this up. Research the areas of what to specialize in. Talking about your skill set, okay? Do a little bit of research, a little bit of background. Find out your industry and what that is, and find out what people are doing or not doing. There's a tip. What aren't they doing? And then do what they're not doing, even if you don't like doing it. There's certain things, I didn't like cleaning. Guess what? It's a big niche. AI can't do cleaning. You know what I'm saying? There's things I still don't like doing cleaning, but it's very profitable. There are some college kids. This is a true story. College kids, they were making fun of this plumber. These college kids were having, they were at a well-to-do home. I think their parents were a millionaire or whatever like that. They had a bunch of these college kids, and they were making fun of the plumbers, right? Because they're They get sometimes poop on their hand, and you can wash it off. No big deal, right? Isn't that what your parents did to you when you did the number two? When you, all of us did, had our diapers changed, right? And we got it on our parents, right? They just washed it off, no big deal. Okay, so they made fun of him, but what they did, he had to come out on the job. But guess what? That man was making $200 an hour. How many people within your personal circle making $200 an hour, right? What I just told you in that 2 months of doing business, when I'm owed anywhere from 88 to 120,000, that's more than $200 an hour. I didn't get that way overnight. Okay, so I don't want you to think that. All right. Okay, now be patient with yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Okay. I spend enough time doing that to myself. I still do it to a certain degree. Be patient with yourself. Okay. As you do this, the first 6 months are the hardest. Here's why. Because a lot of stuff is going to come at you. People are going to come at you. Oh, you think you're better than somebody else. Family's going to come at you. Oh, you think you're better than somebody else. Why are you doing that? You trying to move on without us? They're just people who are comfortable. Feel sorry for them. Just tell them you want to go in a different direction and go. You don't need nobody's permission. Okay? If you do, I gave you permission. Go. Okay? All right. Last but not least, you should write down why. Why do you want to sell something? Okay? Why? Just write it down, a little 2-sentence. Why do you want to sell? What do you want to sell? Okay? Whatever your skill set was, whatever you developed in that industry. Okay? Where do you want to sell? You want to do it online. You can do some stuff through free websites. Bet on yourself. Nobody else is going to bet on you better than you. Okay? When do you want to do it? How about now? Faith is now. Belief is now. Faith actually means belief. It means pistis. I think it's in the Greek or the Latin. I forget which one. But it means now. Okay? Just do it now. Start now. Right after this podcast, start now. Start writing down your vision. Okay? Develop a plan. Work your plan and be flexible. You're going to have to, if you're going from A to Z, okay, you're going 500 miles on a trip. Listen to me. There's going to be detours. You're going to have to stop, maybe use the bathroom, especially the more people you have, the more you're going to have to stop, right? There may be construction 2 or 3 ways that you're supposed to be going, right? So what do? You make sure on your settings in your GPS that you can go through different areas, okay? No tolls, tolls. You see what I'm trying to say? Rural areas, no rural areas. Certain routes, okay? You got it? All right, last but not least, ask for help, okay? Somebody that's succeeding in the area that you want to start the business in, okay? If I were you, this is what I recommend. Start off with a sole proprietorship, right? I don't think it costs anything. Maybe you got to get, but check into that, okay? I don't want to get into that or whatever like that. There's some other stuff that I'm actually delving into that can probably help you down the line, but I can't get into it right now. But that's what I would do, okay? Ask for help. Find a mentor. Find somebody that's successful. Even if they're just 1 mile ahead of you in that field, right? 2 miles, whatever. Hey, can I run some questions by you? Okay? How'd you do this? How'd you do that? Lower your ego, okay? That's what I had to do. I still have to do that, right? Even people who've been in the industry less time, I still ask them questions. Why? Because they may be doing something that I didn't even catch on to. Maybe they're doing something better in my industry that I just missed, right? I'm a student for life. And then, if you can, see if you can take that person out for lunch. I've sat down with lunch with people, right? I go to business workshops, corporate workshops and stuff. You can get ideas from everywhere. Write ideas down. I'm telling you, and everybody's had an idea before, okay? Everybody's had an idea before. So, but we don't write them down, and guess what? You end up losing them, right? I've been guilty of that before. Some really good ideas. Ideas are meant to be evolving, okay? Just because you look at an idea, you may think they're stupid, but 2 months from now, you may hear something else and may be able to add on to that idea. Write it down, okay? Because I'm telling you, you already have a business unit in yourself, right? You already have a gift in yourself. You already have a vision already in yourself. You're a business unit. You're a corporation entity yourself. Okay. So that's it, guys. I'm out of here. You guys have a great Tuesday. Um, I'll let you know about next Tuesday because we're taking a trip. I may just kind of do something a little impromptu and everything like that. It just depends on what I'm doing around that time. But I hope you guys be safe out there. Remember that your future is not ahead of you. It's actually trapped on the inside of you. You have to plant it in the right environment and have to block the negative stuff. Put the good stuff in and watch your tree come out and watch you bear fruit. I'm excited to see where you're going to go. Peace out.